Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for attending our webinar on how to recruit remotely. My name is Casey Dominic. I'm the coordinator in the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Affairs. Myself, along with our council officers from our 4 Greek councils that work with recruitment, have put together this webinar with tips, tricks, and best practices that we feel that you need in order to succeed with recruitment for the upcoming year and in future years, specific to how do you recruit remotely. You may think, why do I need to be watching this if you're not a member of the Fraternity Council, as they typically are the ones who this COVID-19 situation would be affecting mostly. However, we feel that all of our councils can learn something from this and learn best practices and how to prepare for your recruitment process, and also how to market your overall experience with your chapter's recruitment process. Each council does their recruitment process a little bit differently. Here at Oklahoma State, the Fraternity Council typically has a informal process that happens over the summer, where they're taking potential members out on lunches, dinners, small get-togethers, different outings like that. That it's really important that in this environment, they learn how to adapt and learn how to recruit remotely, utilizing all the various platforms that are available to them. It's also important that our other councils learn how to adapt in this environment as well. Our Multicultural Greek Council and National Panhellenic Council's recruitment processes or intake process typically only happens during the school year. We feel that those councils can learn from this and how to prepare for their recruitment processes with the tips that we're going to be talking about tonight and how to market their experience, but also that maybe they can take a page out of other folks' books and learn how to recruit over the summer leading up into the school year so that they can have a better, higher yield and more interests that they can choose from throughout their recruitment process. Lastly, our Panhellenic Council has a formal process that takes place the couple of weeks leading up to the school year in August. Now, that may be the group that is thinking most, why would I need to learn how to recruit remotely? Well, in this environment, we're all going to need to learn how to work together to market that Panhellenic recruitment experience. And then also, like we've mentioned before, it's important for you to know how to prepare for your own recruitment. And we feel that there are some tips that you can learn here to best help yourself and your chapter when preparing for that formal recruitment process, but then also following it with a continuous open bidding process, which is a little bit more informal and needing to know how to recruit virtually. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to one of our students on this panel. Here on the panel, we have Alex, Fallon, and Kinsey from the Panhellenic recruitment team, Kiana from the Multicultural Greek Council, and Jay Shank from the Interfraternity Council. So Alex.
Hi, like Casey said, my name is Alex, and I serve on the Panhellenic recruitment team. I'll be talking about being prepared. So during these changing times, it is important to think about the future and be prepared for recruitment, as well as the development of your chapter. Goal setting is an important step in preparation for anything. By setting goals, it gives you something to strive for. In a team setting, it assures that everyone has the same values or big picture idea for your organization. So how do you do this? Recruitment is an ample time to revisit your chapters as well as your national organization's values and goals. You're about to get an entirely new pledge class that will in turn shape your organization's future. First, identify long-term, more abstract goals. Ask your recruitment team or yourself, what do I want my chapter to look like when I come back as an alum? Then identify those short-term, more tangible goals that will be the stair steps in achieving the more long-term goals. When setting those short-term goals, using the acronym SMART is the way to go. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So first of all, specific, think of the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. Make sure your goals answer all 5 questions. Measurable. Use numbers if you can. If you are going for numbers, instead of specific size you want your new pledge class to be. Then take it further and figure out how you're going to achieve that. For example, I need my Instagram post to reach X amount of PNNs per week. I need to contact X amount of PNNs/recruits per week in order to achieve the pledge cost I need of that size. Then attainable. Refer back to the long-term goal and then ask, what can I do this recruitment specifically that will help us achieve that? With social distancing in place, some regularly scheduled plans are now unattainable. Do your best to modify those plans and work around it. Kiana will talk later about how you can set up some virtual plans of contact in order to proceed with recruitment activities. Relevant. You will identify a multitude of goals to choose from, more than what you can actually achieve during your time here at Oklahoma State. Prioritize and maybe even rank those goals on levels of importance. It is vital to know your chapter's strengths and weaknesses in order to do this properly. If academics have been a weakness in the past, then maybe it needs to move up in priority when recruiting. Last but most certainly not least, make sure all these goals are time-based. Panel-limit chapters can create a schedule for work week. ISC, MGC, and PHC can contact X amount of recruits by next week, or sit down and create a timeline for the summer. Again, bringing it back virtually, talk with your social chairs and talk about recruiting through social media by highlighting the accomplishment of a brother or sister every week. Finally, celebrate achieving goals. Make sure your knowledge when goals are met. This helps increase motivation to stay on track, and as brothers and sisters, you are there to encourage and support one another in growth. Now Fallon will talk about communication within your chapter.
Hi everyone, like Alex said, I'm Fallon, a recruitment coordinator for Panhellenic, and going off of what Alex said, one of the biggest parts of being prepared or organized is communication. You want to make sure everyone is on the same page, so keep the conversation rolling with your recruitment team and chapter about your goals and your roles. You want to stay informed and up to date. So pay attention to announcements, whether it's from your council delegates, executive officers, OSU, or even your national headquarters. You're also going to want to set clear expectations for everyone, including your members that aren't on the recruitment team. Potential new members, interests, and recruits are going to want to join your chapter based on your members. So encourage your members to stay organized themselves and maintain your values. And you'll also want to keep up with the bonding opportunities to keep up your brotherhood or your sisterhood of your chapter. Lastly, talk to each other as recruitment teams. You can use each other as resources. Recruitment is not a competition, so lean on each other and share ideas. Now Kiana is going to talk about marketing your chapter.
Hey guys, like I said before, my name is Kiana Thompson and I am the recruitment chair for Multicultural Greek Council. And today I'll be talking about good ways to market recruitment for social media in these times. The first thing you want to do is make sure you're being active on your social media platforms. Using social media as a way to recruit can help reach target audiences. And then keeping that in mind, the audience that we do want to target, keeping them engaged is important. So having an active feed not only keeps you on your audience's feed or timelines, which is good because they're more likely to click on your profile and check out what you're about or more things to learn more things about you. Also, another way to keep members keep audiences engaged is showcase your members. Spotlighting your members is a great way for your audience to not only get to know more about the people in your chapter, but what your chapter is about, just because most of the time, like, your chapters are what your people make it and what your members make it. Make sure you're posting quality content, and that just means put posts that are also going to showcase values of your chapter as well as your members. And so, like, for instance, if your value in your chapters are academics, make sure you're like showcasing and letting other audiences know that you're proud of your members for this, and this is something that you guys hold very high in your chapters. Also, like, same if like you value brother or sisterhood, this is a great time to like let your audience members know that and to showcase your members and how we all how they get along and how important it is to have that brotherhood and sisterhood bond. try to post on as many platforms that are more relevant and popular at their time. So like obviously your big ones, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook are great ways to reach out to different audiences. And also just try stepping out of like posting just photos. Maybe like venturing into videos or boomerangs or infographics could be a good way to target audiences and keep them engaged, as well as providing a fun way to provide information for our audiences. All right, and some of the small things to think about when you are trying to recruit through social media is you don't want to overwhelm your audience. And what this means is just don't post a lot like every day, or posting multiple times a day can be overwhelming to your audience and could flood their timelines and feed, which can kind of turn people away from wanting to be following your account. So just keep that in mind whenever you're posting. Make sure you're using relevant hashtags. A lot more people follow hashtags than you would think. So like, for instance, right now, the most relevant ones are probably gonna be like recruitment 2020 or hashtag OKState24, which is more targeting like maybe the incoming freshmen. Make sure social media is a great way to like be able to communicate back and forth with people who just have questions or are more interested in what your organization's about. So make sure that you're using, having somebody that can answer these questions thoroughly, or a way to get in touch with somebody who can answer questions. Make sure, again, we've mentioned this a few times, but make sure you're keeping in contact with your recruitment teams and anybody that's involved with the recruitment, and making sure that everyone knows what's kind of going on social media and how we're using that to recruit. And that way, nothing gets lost in translation or anything like that. And also, lastly, recruiting this way is going to be very time consuming, and it's going to feel like it's taking a long time, but it is impactful. And especially since we're having to social distance, this is one of the best times to utilize this tool. And lastly, these are just some different ways you can keep in contact with your people that are in your recruitment spots, or just anybody within your chapter. And Zoom is really good, as we can see, for larger groups, and runs very smoothly and easy to use. There is a premium price though if there's a group larger than 3, but I believe that it's worth it because we get a lot of cool features. Like this webinar feature is pretty awesome. Google Meets, which is good for groups under 100, and it's free and it runs fairly smoothly as well. All you need is a Google account. And Google Hangouts, this platform is best for groups under 10, but still a really good platform to use and runs very smoothly. And that is all from me, so I'm going to pass it to Mackenzie.
Hey everyone, thanks for handing that over to me, Kiana. Like she said, my name is Mackenzie. Like I said earlier, I'm the chapter chair coordinator for the Inuk Council. So now we're just going to talk a little bit about growing your names list and what that looks like. Basically, this means getting a bigger pool to be able to have people. The more people that you have that are signed up for your recruitment and that are eager to go through your recruitment, the more option you're going to be able to have when you're picking the people that are going to best fit within your chapters and within your councils and things like that. So we're just really focused on that right here. One way you can do that is by communicating with other councils. You'd be really surprised to see how much other councils' recruitment process has to do with yours, or has similarities, especially for IFC, MGC, and NPHC. They all are going to have a lot more similarities than you would expect them to. So don't be afraid to reach out to those other people and bounce ideas off of each other and just see what they're doing to grow their names list. So, hey, like, how are you reaching out to people? How are you communicating with people? How are you finding people? All of those are valid questions. And if for some reason, maybe you don't know someone in another chapter from a different council, that's completely okay. Nothing's wrong with that. But if you'll be willing to reach out to us, any of us here on the panelist or Casey, we'd all be willing to help you and give you some information for them that they can contact you, or you can contact them so you can get that ball rolling. The next thing that we're going to go over is how IFC, MGC, and NPHC can all actively recruit. By this, I mean, like, you all are welcome to go out and find people. Go out and look for them on social medias. on different websites, things like that. And that way you're going out to them, especially with Greek Discovery Day canceled. I know that takes away some of that chance to meet the potential new members or interests or recruits. And so having that chance to go out and ask them if they would be interested in your council or your chapters is going to increase your names list also in the people that you have to offer a lifetime membership with. So by doing this, also you want to make your brand really easily recognizable and accessible. When somebody hears about your specific chapter, you want them to have a positive image in mind. You want them to think about brotherhood or sisterhood or something big that you've been promoting in a good way. And so make sure that you have that very attainable or accessible, sorry. And then the other thing is when you're hosting events, whether it's a Zoom call or a Google Hangout or whatever, like Kiana was talking about a little bit earlier, make sure that you're promoting that in a timely manner and in enough time that they have time to plan for it and that they get excited for it, and then make it really like easy access. So giving them all the codes they'll need to get on it and things like that. You're going to have more people that show up to that and are excited about that. And that's one way also that is actively recruiting, is by giving them the information and letting it be in front of them so that they are easily able to get to it. So lastly, encourage all your members to repost your chapter and council graphics. Sorry, I think it got cut off there a little bit, but it's supposed to say chapter and council graphics. This is really going to help reach a lot of P&Ms. And you might not think so, but if you think about even if every chapter member has only one person that might be in high school or in college that's not currently in a chapter, and they repost it, think of how many people that can reach if everybody in the council does it and everybody in the chapters do it. So this is just a great way, like again, getting it in front of them. The more they see it, the more they're going to get excited about it and want to try it. Maybe they saw it once on one person's, like Instagram story, and they're like, oh, okay, that might be kind of cool. But then they've seen it on 3 of their friends' story, and so now it's something that they're willing to reach out and ask about. So although it's so important for your freshmen to be posting these things because they do likely have a lot of contact to potential new members, you want to encourage everyone to, because you don't know who knows someone from a high school or someone that's in college, because a lot of us do still recruit women and men that are in their freshman and sophomore years of college and even higher. So just make sure that you're reaching out to everybody and you're doing everything you can to increase your number of people that you're able to talk to so that you can have the pledge class that you want. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jay for him to talk to you a little bit about resources.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kenzie. Sorry I was late. I had another meeting that went a little over time, but I'm going to talk about the resources that you can use to recruit. And this will be more tailored to IFC, MPHC, and MGC, as Panhellenic Council has a more structured and formal recruitment. So all of the stuff that the other 3 councils do, Panhellenic might not be able to do. First of all is ICS. IFC recruiters should be encouraging P&Ms and recruits to sign up on ICS. And basically what ICS is it's a software website that people can go, they register for recruitment there, pay a fee, and then enter in a bunch of information about themselves. And that includes contact information, that is like school, GPA, records, all that kind of thing. That lets chapters see their information and then helps them in the selection process of who they want. And if your council maybe doesn't use ICS, maybe a Google form would be a good way to get that contact information. So when you're sharing the word about it, you can just say, yeah, go register for recruitment. It's on our website, go fill out the Google form, and then your contact information will be dispersed to all of the chapters that are actively recruiting. Another good resource that you can use is your alumni base, reaching out to them about people they know going through recruitment. And you can do that via Facebook groups, emails, even events when those are able to be held. And also getting those recommendations from the alumni, from like friends, people you know, those are really important as well. I would encourage your members to talk to their friends in high school, like Kenzie mentioned, especially the ones who have friends in high school, like freshmen. They usually have the most ties to high school, and promote Greek life there. And whether you know or not, every conversation about Greek life is a marketing opportunity, whether you're doing it intentionally or not. So make sure you're conscious of what you're saying about Greek life there. Just always portraying a positive image, trying to get people invested, interested in the Greek life that we have at OSU. Also, obviously, social media is going to be huge for the recruitment period that we're in right now because we cannot meet face-to-face. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those are all great ways to reach new potential PNMs and also just like learn more about them. You can use hashtags, all that can be utilized to recruit. So those are a few of the ways that you guys can recruit during this time of uncertainty.
Unmute myself. Thank you so much, Jay, and everyone else. We'll go, and if anyone has any questions, we'll feel free to start answering those. Is recruitment and rush going to be completely over the internet now? I will let Jay, I'll let you first talk about what that would look like for IFC. And then Kiana, if you want to talk about what that looks like for MGC and MPHC, and Alex, if you want to follow up with what that'll look like for our Panhellenic groups.
Right. So as of right now, we're proceeding with recruitment the way we normally do, informally, which means chapters contacting PNMs, PNMs contacting chapters. The only difference is there will be no like physical, like face-to-face contact made throughout the recruitment process. So normally you would be able, a chapter would say like host events at like Topgolf, and they can invite their PNMs to come to that. And that's the way that they kind of get to know their PNMs there and see if they want to select them. But like I said, we're not doing any of those in-person meetings due to the COVID-19. So as of right now, it's informal recruitment and it's basically all virtual.
For MGC, this is probably as much, and MPHC, as much as I can think. As far as it will, right now, what we know is we're going to be having a fall semester. So as of right now, the most we need to keep for us is just hopes that this situation does not lead further into fall semester. But if it does, that's when it will start getting tricky. We will not be able to like have our recruitment weeks or be able to do our normal, usual recruitment events that we usually would put on. But in the event that it does, I'm sure we will have a plan for that when it comes time.
As for the Panhellenic Council, while we definitely cannot be able to tell the future and of coronavirus, the future of our state, it will really depend on what is the exact specifications and the recommendations at the time of recruitment. However, we have started thinking about the possibilities, whether it's as simple as not shaking hands during recruitment or even something further. It's just a matter of problem solving right now and thinking about it and being prepared. As more is learned about both coronavirus and the future of Oklahoma State, we will be partnering and communicating with chapters regarding what will be the best for the chapters, what will be the best for the PNMs as well.
Another question we've gotten is, will we be able to access the information later? I hope so. I think we recorded it correctly. If not, we will be able to do this again and get it out there to you all so that you can pass along to your chapters and recruitment teams. We've got a couple of questions in our chat. What kind of events would you do at a high school? Do you just show up and talk to a class, or do you set up a table? So I think that you wouldn't necessarily go to a high school. I think that your council officers are the ones who would make that kind of contact. I think that it would be best for you to get contact information from your council exec teams if you're able to do that. Jay shared that IFC has an ICS database. I believe that they're going to be providing some names of folks that attended or supposed to attend Greek Discovery Day to the chapters. That's why we talked about collecting a names list. And so whether that's through your own means, from your own chapters, from your high schools, that that you have people that, typically come to Oklahoma State and typically go Greek. It's important to collect a names list and share that with your recruitment team. Events over the summer that you would typically see, I'll let Jay kind of talk about what some of those events look like over the summer that IFC has historically done.
Yeah, and actually, I'll talk about the high school part a little bit. Something we discussed as council would be the councils themselves, not chapters, going to a high school, maybe setting up during, like, if they have a free period or like during a lunch, just setting up a table in the lunchroom, and just like if they have a college fair day where colleges come, being a part of that. So it wouldn't necessarily be for specific chapters going to high schools. It would be like for councils trying to get people into and interested in Greek life at OSU. But some like typical events held in the summer as far as IFC is concerned. Like I said, there's Top Golf events. I know sometimes an alumni will host an event at their house and have like a barbecue where you can come, just like hang out, eat some food, meet the people of the respective chapter that you're being recruited by. I know there's like lake trips that people will go on sometimes if an alumni has a lake house. PNMs will be invited to that, and they'll have like a day on the lake. Those are just a couple examples of the events that are held by IFC chapters, but there's a lot more. I mean, the list goes on.
Which I think that informal process is something that our MGC and MPHC chapters can do more of. I know that a couple of our MGC groups do some small recruitment type events over the summer. And so I think that, in the future, being able to host these informal events, but, utilizing specifically for MGC, I'm one of the advisors for MGC. I see a lot of folks entering MGC who come from similar high schools. So that's an easy place for you to reach out to folks from the high schools that are in our MGC community, for example, and figuring out who's coming to Oklahoma State and starting to get a names list together so that you guys can start recruiting this summer and getting ready and kind of doing a lot of pre-work for the fall semester, so that you're not waiting until the fall semester, the first couple weeks of classes, to find those students. Another question we've gotten, and this one I guess will be for Jay: when will we know on the decided contingency plan for IFC recruitment?
Yes, we will have a decision made by May 15th.
And that's basically the week after their finals week is when the decision will be made. Any other questions from folks in here? I just want to say that, really want to encourage you all. This is going to be a trying time for everyone. And so we're all going to have to figure out different ways to manage and different ways to do things. And one of those things is recruitment. And so figuring out how to virtually do that more so. You guys talk to your friends all the time via different platforms, whether that's FaceTime or text message or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever it is. You guys are doing that already. And so just having your recruitment process, for the most part, all through a virtual process is, in theory, a lot different. But you still can have those conversations. You still can get them connected with your membership and host some virtual events. So it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be different and new territory for most of us. Specifically, the IFC community here has done this recruitment process like this since 1970. So that's a long time. And, what I've learned from Oklahoma State, from whenever I was a student to working here now, is that we don't like change a lot. And so this is definitely a change for our community. So I think that it would be important for you all to utilize each other, utilize each chapter and figure out what you guys are doing virtually, so that you can use that to your advantage. I think that some of the information that was passed on in here is really important. Making sure that you are growing your names list, making sure that you are getting organized is really important, and really figuring out what you're selling is going to be important. Making sure that you as an organization, your recruitment team, that you have a message that you're saying, we are XYZ group, and this is what we're about. And this is the message we want to put out, and this is what we want to sell about our fraternity or sorority. And then that goes for all of our IFC, MGC, and MPHC folks. And for Panhellenic, it's really about, growing that names list is getting as many folks to know about the Panhellenic recruitment process in the fall as possible. And so getting as a community to market that event is extremely important. That's all I want to say. We're here as resources for you all, and you all should have contact information for these folks, the recruitment chairs for your councils. If there aren't any other questions, we'll end the webinar. And thank you all for attending, and go Pokes.